Hello, so this is my Crucible League um, build that I decided League start with. It took me a while to release a video because my PC had issues with the recording software. Um, so I went a Necromancer this league. I know the previous leagues I've been going Occultist, but this league I went Necromancer, but my minions is Holy Relic. It's a very niche minion archetype that not a lot of people go. Um, yeah, this build is pretty spicy and pretty questionable at the same time. So the defenses is pretty good, like with flasks and molten shell. Hit the 64k with max effect of molten shell. Resistances are decent, 76, 81, 77. We are CI, so we take no chaos damage. We, with Divergent Bone Offering, we are one off from block cap. This is without Glancing Blow. So most builds that use Aegis Aurora have to take Glancing Blow to block cap. Necromancer, because of the Ascendancy, Mistress of Sacrifice, and Divergent Bone Offering, you can actually get block capped without Glancing Blow, which means that instead of just a 35% mitigation, when you block a hit, it is 100% damage mitigation. Because a block tip means every damage from that hit is negated. So that means that 75% of the time we are mitigating 100% of the damage taken from hits. Now, for the remaining 25% of the time that we do get hits, how do we mitigate that? So for 3.21, there was a new mastery system or new mastery notables that got released. One of them, or was this one? 10% of physical damage from hits is taken as chaos damage. Since we are chaos inoculation, that is 10% physical damage mitigation for free. Like, we literally do not have to care about this. This mod used to be a corrupted implicit on shields, and now it's on the tree. So that's pretty good. Or I don't have the balls to corrupt this yet, because this is the relic, what's it called? Reliquary key version of Aegis. So yeah, there's that. So let me go over the tree real quick. So it's just, so I know a lot of necromancers take mindless aggression, but mindless aggression is actually extremely bad for this build, because Holy Relic does not attack, which is, it sounds weird. It's a minion that doesn't attack. It's a minion that triggers a Nova spell that gets triggered when you attack. So there are cooldown breakpoints for Holy Relic, and you hit the max cooldown breakpoint at 52%, which is why we're using Divergent Summon Holy Relic at quality 23, and then you have to get a 29 or 30% quality to all skill gems, Ash of the Stars. I got this pretty early in the league. I think I got this on like day 3, day 4, something like that. Yeah, but essentially you want to hit 52% or higher quality on Divergent Summon Holy Relic. If you don't hit 52%, your DPS gets cut by like half, because that's the CDR breakpoint, or the next tier of CDR breakpoint. I know that on POD.Ninja, there's like 9 other people going Holy Relic Necromancer, and then like half of them don't even hit the breakpoint. So it's pretty questionable. The dagger, Oh, right. I was going to talk about the tree. So the tree is just your generic minion nodes. So like minions have chaos res. So this is specifically for the specters and the anime guardian, because anime guardian gear is kingmaker, which is I think 6-7 divine, something like that. The helmet is Mask of the Stitch Demon. I think at the time when I bought it was like close to 1 divine. Now it's probably a lot cheaper. Garb of the Ephemeral. At the time it was 1 divine. Now it's a lot cheaper. So normally you would need to craft a rare body armor that has like max life as extra ES, because the interaction with that chest piece with Mask of the Stitch Demon makes the Anime Guardian regen a ton. Like, it regens a lot. But then, because of Grave Intentions and the extra Chaos Res, you can actually take Garb of the Ephemeral, which makes all your allies essentially Temporal Chains immune and also crit immune, which is really good for defensive. And also, you don't have to worry about the Anime Guardian dying to one-shots, because let's say you're running like Wandering Path and then you roll like 600% crit or something, and like a lot of crit multi, right? Normally that's how Anime Guardians die. Like, people run those maps, they open a strongbox that says detonate dead corpses or something, and then since those detonate dead corpses can critically strike, the Anime Guardian just disappears. That's generally how Anime Guardians die most of the time. But taking Grave Intentions and putting a Garb of Ephemeral on the Anime Guardian kind of makes it immortal. It's not perfectly immortal, because there is a new modifier that got introduced. I don't remember when it got introduced, but essentially it makes it so you can't... It's like a little blood symbol, but it's not corrupted blood or bleeding. It pretty much makes it so you cannot recover past half your HP. That can actually get applied to your minions, which is kind of detrimental. But even at half HP, the Anime Guardian still... like, it still can't really die. So yeah, bottom tree is just ES nodes. You take all the aura nodes because you need a lot of mana reservation for this build. You get Champion of the Cost via Stampede. Stampede is nice because when you Cyclone, your movement speed does not decrease, because your movement speed is set to 150% of its base value, and it cannot be modified. Your action speed can be modified, but with Garb of the Ephemeral, it can no longer be modified. That's why like you're always at this movement speed, which is like 50% isn't that bad. Like it's runnable. That's also why we're not running like Quicksilver Flasks, because Quicksilver Flask will do nothing, because any increase to your movement speed will just reset it back to 50%. The Watcher's Eye is just 8% block attack while affected by Determination. Ideally, you would want like ES recovery rates, discipline, block attack, determination, and then like discipline ES regen, something like that, or ES block spell damage, which would mean that you would save these two skill points. I think it's on discipline. I could be wrong. Someone quote me on that. We're going Chaos Inoculation. Large clusters, you want Renewal and the Vicious Bite node. Rotten Claws is kind of weird, because even though Holy Relic can't attack, PoE thinks that it adds damage. Realistically, I don't know whether or not it adds damage or not. Taking it on PoE like increases it by like 400k or something, but then like 400k isn't like that noticeable. So I kind of I don't allocate Rotten Claws because technically it's a spell and it gets buffed by Unnerve, but not Intimidate. So that's something to note. That's why I don't think Rotten Claws should actually increase DPS on Holy Relic. It could be a bug. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe POB never like looked into Holy Relic because no one plays this build to begin with. Take a small cluster jewel with uncompromising because mana reservation issues. So the Armor small cluster, before I had Enduring Composure, so I would get 4 Endurance charges, but the only reason why it's Prismatic Carapace right now is because my Atlas strategy is blue altars. There is a detrimental blue altar that says you have reduced recovery rates based on how many endurance charges you have. If I am getting 4 endurance charge or 3 endurance charges, getting that much less recovery rates just because I have a jewel equipped is it's pretty bad. So that's why I changed it to Prismatic Carapace. But ideally, you would, if you're running red altar, Exarch altars, you would want Enduring Composure over Prismatic Carapace. You can probably see that there is a lot of nodes allocated here for an Elegant Hubris. I bought this for 70 Chaos. This is literally one of the best minion Elegant Hubrises for this position. And I think the guy that was selling it probably didn't even know that this jewel is like super good for minions, because a lot of people don't actually pay attention to numbers. But on POB, you can search up Timeless Jewels using the Timeless Jewel Finder function. It's located in the skill tree, and essentially you can just look up like what is like the best minion damage Elegant Hubrises for different jewel sockets, and then this is like literally the top one. So yeah. So this Elegant Hubris gives me 80% damage for 3 skill points, another 80% for another 3 skill points, 80% avoid being shocked. This is important. I'll talk about it in a little bit. 50% fire res. It's getting res is kind of hard on this build. So another 3 skill points for minions deal 80% damage. 2 skill points for minions have 80% max life, and then it's also important because funny enough, it's on the mana mastery cluster, so you get that 12% mana reservation efficiency of skills, which is very nice. And then another 2 skill points for minions deal 80% damage. So that is like what, 3, 5, 8, 11 skill points for 320% minion damage, which is insane. And then if you really want to make your Anime Guardian like have more life, there's another like 3 skill points for 80% life. But honestly, like that Anime Guardian has so much life, I don't even worry about it too often. And then there's 2 skill points for 80% increased armor, which is how you get such a high armor value. Take some ES notes here. You take the entire shield ES spell block wheel here. Zealot's Oath, because you want your life region to apply ES. Righteous Army, just generic minion damage nodes. And then Faith and Steel, Armor ES. This is a Corrupted Blood, avoid being shocked. So this puts us above 100% avoid being shocked, which lets us take Storm Shroud, which just makes us immune to elemental ailments. Elemental ailments are Ignite, Scorch, Chilled, Frozen, Brittle, Shock, Sapped, which means we don't have to worry about anything anymore. Fortress Covenant, funny enough, I actually corrupted this myself and it rolled 45%, so I was like, why not? It's a jewel socket for 45% damage, and then the minions are like almost block capped also, which is funny. This is 10 and 10. Divergent Bone Offering is 4140, so that's like 50%, and then you get that 20% increase of offerings, which is like another 8%. So that's I can't do math. 48 plus 10, 58% chance to block, which is like insane. So not only does the Anime Guardian have like so much regen, a huge ass ES pool, huge ass like max chaos res, it also has 58% chance to block, which is insanely stupid. We take Resolute Technique because I'm too lazy to go recraft my weapon to get my dead prefix as hits cannot be evaded, because I actually want to put resistances on my weapon and then trigger Suck This Spell, which is Anomalous Assassin's Mark, which with Ashes of Star you increase the cursed enemies take 10% increased damage. It works the same way as taking like I think it's War Banner, which is increased physical damage taken. And then for the Armor Masteries, it's the 10% free mitigation from hits as chaos damage. And then when we do take physical damage from an enemy hit, we recover 5% of our ES over 1 second. From my testing, this isn't like recoup how you can have multiple instances. Let's say you get hit for 100 damage, 100 physical damage, like post mitigation. You will recover 5 ES over 1 second. However, if it's like half a so like every I don't know how you explain, but essentially they don't stack. So like if you take like 100 physical hits, it doesn't just stack to like 100 procs of this in 1 second. It's not like recoup. It just overwrites itself. So like if it's like halfway replenished over that 1 second, then another instance of physical hit it pretty much just refreshes the buff to recover 5% of your ES. Also, it's not 5 ES, it's 5% of my ES pool. So that's like I don't know what 5% of 3,800 is. It's around 200, I think. Yeah, I can't do math right now. It's too early. Yeah, so let me go talk about my gear. So my gear is just a +1 fractured is my dagger. So ideally, so going back on the breakpoint of Holy Relic at 52% quality, you want your attack speed per second to be as close as 5 APS as possible, which will give you the maximum damage output. This is very similar to how when you hit 52% on a cast on crit build, especially on Cyclone, you would want to hit like 10.25 attacks per second to hit the maximum DPS output, because that's your maximum trigger rate. For Holy Relic, the cooldown of it becomes 0.198, which means that you want to get as closely as like 5.02 APS per second. Wait, that's redundant, APS per second. Yeah, so that's why I'm using Ends My Dagger. This puts me at like 4.78 APS. I can get it to 5 APS if I use I believe Hellock Bench to raise it to at least 24%, and then I would apply I would apply the enchant weapon has 1% attack speed per 8 quality. That would actually put me at like just a little bit over 5 APS, like 5.01 APS, which would actually put me at the maximum damage output. The helmet, I bought this on like day 1 of the league for like 10 chaos. Now it's like super expensive. It's +2 AoE and then 90% cost and reservation multiplier. Yeah, this is literally besting slot for Joffrey's Crest for Holy Relic builds. Ideally, you would want the Lab Enchant Holy Relics deal 40% increased damage, but I'm too lazy to run Lab. I pretty much never want to run Lab in my life, past the first one that you need to get your Ascendancy points. The shield is Aegis Aurora, because when you block 75% of the time, even though you're mitigating 100% of the damage, you're also healing for like 1400 ES. Amulet is Asher Starter with Anointed Charisma for mana reservation. It needs to be 29% quality or 30% quality to hit that cooldown breakpoint for Divergent Holy Relic. The Bone Ring is kind of weird. So I had to fracture, or I bought a fractured Bone Ring with mana regen because this build is super like mana heavy, and we don't run Clarity, or I used to run Clarity, but then I realized it's waste of mana when I can literally just fracture mana regeneration rate. And then since we're not taking mindless aggression, because that's literally what 40% minion damage for 2 ascendancy points, that's stupid. So we take Essence Glutton, which literally is Clarity but on steroids, and also gives us ES regen when we consume Corpse, which is this icon, Essence Glutton. So my my mana regen like just skyrockets, and it's enough. It pretty much gives me more mana regen than Clarity could ever give me. Okay. So then the other ring is just like a Crusader unset ring for rolling max ESE. Essentially, I want T1 ES, but I don't know. I don't want to run. I don't want to roll this anymore. But essentially, you would want T1% ES and then T1 flat ES. And yeah, Divergent Frostblink is pretty spicy because 200% increased cooldown CDR is pretty insane. The chest piece is an Incandescent Heart with +2 minion gems. Essentially, besting slot for the version I'm building would be +1 to socketed skill gems, and then +2 to minion skill gems, because that would essentially be the same as going Skin of the Lords. But the good thing about Incandescent Heart is the line 25% of elemental damage from hits is taken as chaos damage. That means 25% of whatever your elemental resistance is not mitigating. That 25% of the leftover is taken as chaos damage, which is additional 25% damage mitigation, which is insane. A little story is I actually did see a +1 all and then +2 minion gems for like 5 divines. I tried to buy it, but the guy kept on like unlistening and re-listening it, trying to like test how much I would pay for it. I was like, nah, screw it. So I was like, I'll just stick with this for now. Because ideally, when like the price he was going for, essentially got to the point where it was the same cost as a Iron Reflex Skin of the Lords, and that's like Iron Reflex Skin of the Lords like has the same like defensive capabilities as a Incandescent Heart if you teching like Grace Aura, which I was like, okay, except Skin of Lords has like better utility for like if you want to resell it. This is like a very niche item, so I was like, screw it, I'll just buy it at some other time or run Vault Temples to get my own. The gloves is a fractured +2 socketed minion gems. This is important because you need to hit level 25 on Ray Spectre to get a additional Spectre. and then 20% to unnerf enemies on hit. So that means my Cyclone, which is like, since I'm close to 5 APS, that's pretty much like 100% chance to unnerf enemies every second. And that increases your Holy Nova, because again, it's a spell, it's not an attack. And then Divergent Animate Guardian, because with Ashes of Stars and the Divergent quality, you have 100% increased minion life. So the total is 192% increased minion life. That's why he's a beefy boy. Anomalous Feeding Frenzy just makes it so that when the Spectres or the AG hit, they recover 1% of their life on hit, which is nice. The Spectres I'm using are Pale Seraphim for nearby enemies take increased damage. Demon Harpy, which has a screech that essentially does the same thing. And then Host Chieftain. So Host Chieftain is actually kind of spicy because the Host Monkey and Carnage Monkey, they grant Frenzy and Power Charges to everyone. But for Power Charges, right, you don't care about Power Charges on yourself, because it does nothing. You're not critting, your minions are critting. So that's when I decided to create this deck. I don't think this was ever talked about from like minion creators I follow, like Ghazi, Game Report. I don't think they ever talked about this belt for minion builds. I could be wrong, someone quote me on that, but I've never seen them talk about this. But essentially, when you're going a CI build for minions and your Host Monkey pretty much uses his ability, he would normally grant you power charges. But for Graven Secrets, it says your power charges become something called Absorption Charge, which is players recoup 12% of their elemental damage taken as ES. So now my max Absorption Charges is 4, which means that during mapping or during boss fights even, if the Host Monkey has increased skill effect usage because of Essence Glutton, because it's your nearby allies regen 50 mana per second, which means that it's enough to give the monkey enough mana to cast his ability again. So it's pretty easy to get 4 Absorption Charges uptime at all time, which means that I have 48% ES recoup for elemental damage, which is like a majority of things in the game, which is insane. And why this is never talked about, I have no idea. Yeah. And then the boots I explained earlier. The flasks are all gain charges when hits, and then use when charges are full. So this just gain armor, immune to bleeding, corrupt blood. This is only for the bleeding thing, not for the corrupted blood, because I have them on a jewel. Recover 3% of life per second because I have Zealot's Oath, that is 3% ES per second. 49% reduced effect of curses. This is like if I get cursed with like vulnerability or something. So it's improves my survivability in maps pretty much. And then 24% reduced mana cost because Assassin's Mark, when you trigger it through this bench mod, right, it costs a lot. So if with the flask it drops down to 65, which is more manageable. Okay. So the skill gems is Anonymous Summon Golem because you want that life regen and then the buff effect for it. Normal Vitality, you can use the Divergent Vitality for increased damage, but I like the AoE for it. Anomalous Assassin's Mark, which works the same way as a banner, but just better. Divergent Pride with Quality Ashes. Nearby enemies have -5 to physical damage reduction, which is huge. Val Molten Shell, Normal Discipline, Divergent Tempest Shield for spell block. Convocation, Determination, normal one. Anonymous Flesh and Stone for increased evasion and armor. Divergent Frostblink. Normal Spectre, Divergent Anime Guardian. And then Cyclone, Desecrate, Cast Wall Channeling, and then Divergent Bone Offering to essentially almost block my cap. My outlet strategy is kind of weird right now. I'm still, like, I changed my outlet tree like 10 times this league already, testing different things. Currently liking this currency. It's just strong boxes, Delirium Mirror, Blue Altar, because Blue Altar has a higher increase in rarity, Altar spawn rate, and then just Harbingers to try to get like fracturing orbs, which is I believe like 5 divines right now. Let me just show a quick map. I'm not gonna juice anymore because yeah, lazy. My Atlas is done, 115. I have 115. For Atlas points, I'm free off. It's just the remaining invitations, which is Feared, the Breach Lord one, and then the Distant Memory one. Those are my last 3. MTX, for anyone cares, I'm using Scavenger Weapon, Iridescent Weapon effect, Igneous Emperor Helmets, which is the new thing from Curex Vault. Pretty much just the Igneous set because it looks really nice. Divine Ice Crown, Iridescent Helmets, Bloodguard Wing, Ring of the Demon Slayer, Arcane Footprints, Iridescent Character Effects, Tunnel Bear Pet, I don't know what this is, and then Deep Water Portal Effect. And then yeah. Oh, a very important thing. So for the weapon, for the Crucible tree, you want to get plus 60 to strength or plus X to strength because that is the only way you're going to get strength on this build, aside from like rings and stuff. So either on your shield or your weapon, you need a plus strength. Yeah, that's pretty important. And then the Aegis just has a % increased strength and then like generic armor ES. Yeah, I forgot to mention that, but that's really important.
Easy returns.
So you can see absorption charges right here. Now it's 2. Like the monkey just he's cooking. Now it's 3. And it should be 4 soon. Maybe. I don't know. Or 12 off, I don't know. So,
oh, wow.
but yeah, the build's pretty relaxing. It's pretty brain dead. The defenses are insane, as I described earlier. You're literally just standing most stuff you don't really care about much, like during mapping. My ES regen is like 1400, 1600.
That's good,
Wow.
right?
Okay, so what happened was I killed a loot goblin. Amazing. So loot goblins still exist in the game, strangely enough. They're just not tied to God anymore, so it's not like in Kalanja League you would have to farm like Innocence Touch for Gilded and Wind Scarabs. Now it's just slapped on a random mob. But
Holy fucking shit.
like my super coast filter. But now it's tied to a random mob and you don't know what it is. From what I've tested, it spawns more often on beasts. So if you're running bestiary, you'll find a lot more of these like loot goblin modifiers on it. For some weird reason, it can spawn on Harbingers, the Harbinger boss, which is pretty insane. I think right there it was on the Harbinger boss. Abyss, I didn't really see it that often on Abyss, strangely enough, because Abyss was how you would farm God Touches in Kalandra League, but for now, I feel like it's a lot less than running Bestiary and Harbingers. Strongboxes, you pretty much almost never see it spawn, so you never have to like think about like 500% strongbox spawn and then hoping a loot goblin spawns from that chest, because the chance of that happening is pretty much like non-existent. But yeah, hope you guys liked the video, and I will update the build as I go on. So catch you guys next time.